Hey everybody, this is Heather, the Hidden Historian, and today I am walking through a real-life ghost town right in the foothills of Appalachia in North Carolina. This is Henry River Mill Village. Now there are at least a dozen, if not way more than a dozen, ghost towns across North Carolina. Some of them are underneath lakes. Others are completely decayed to where you can't recognize them anymore, but you might find like a pile of stones or a foundation in the woods somewhere. And this one is actually one of the ghost towns that's in the best condition, where you can really walk through the village and get a sense of what life was like before it was a ghost town. So what I'm doing is I'm exploring abandoned places across North Carolina as part of a book that I'm working on for the Hidden History of North Carolina. And I'm just testing to see if you all would like to see me go live to explore these places with you live while I'm walking around getting pictures and interviewing people. So today, such a visual and interesting place that so many people kind of want to go but haven't visited yet, I thought I would take you through it and just get an idea of if anyone is interested in exploring kind of abandoned places and ghost towns live with me. So, Henry River Mill Village. This village has been abandoned for decades now. It was abandoned, I believe the last person moved out in the 1970s, which is why it's still in such good condition, because some mill villages are much older and really just in incredible states of decay. But this village, you can actually walk around and take a peek through the windows and look into the houses, and really kind of get a sense of what life was like in a mill village. Now, mill villages used to be a very popular way of living across North Carolina, because basically the way it would work is you or your family member would get a job at the mill, and mills were an extremely important economic driver, right? You would get a job at the mill and you needed mills to be corn mills and provide food, or sawmills to provide lumber, cotton mills so that you could get cotton and fibers for clothes. So there was really tons of money to be made and jobs to be had working in a mill. This was a place that provided lots of jobs at the time. And there were mill villages really all across North Carolina, but especially here in the mountains, or the foothills. Mill villages were just thriving. In fact, many of them sadly have been destroyed and are actually under different lakes. Now, we're going to get into that a little bit about why ghost towns become ghost towns. Many people wonder about that. You know, you drive past a ghost town and you go, well, at some point people lived here and thrived here. What happened? We're also going to walk into a house here today. We'll peek through some windows and we'll step inside a house to get a look around. So Henry River Mill Village had a mill, and lots of families lived here. The way it tended to work in mill villages is you would get a job at the mill, and then your family would get a mill house like these. These beautiful mill houses at one point were very simple but very stable homes, and they all look almost identical. If you go inside them, they're going to have the same rooms, the same amenities, and in fact this was built during a time where you can see the outhouses. There wasn't indoor plumbing, for example. And then you have a general store kind of at the heart of it all, and you could just walk here from your house. Imagine you live right there and you can just walk over here to get your groceries, and you can just walk right down there because the mill was just right down there by the river. It'd be very easy to walk to work, to walk to get your water, to walk to get your food. And in fact, you can see there's a stage there. It's a little bit newer, but that stage was where they would bring in entertainment for people. And it's amazing to see that the yards, the big yards and the greenery. We're going to walk through some people's backyards. Well, it's not someone's backyard now, but to get a sense of what it would have been like to live in one of these houses, and we'll walk around the backyard, and you're a kid living in this house and playing in the yard while you wait for your parents to come home, or your dad to come home from the mill, or your mom to come home from the mill. So this is the one house that they do allow people to go inside. So we're going to take a look in there. On a non-historic, more of a pop culture tangent, by the way, the houses go all the way down the road. There are a lot of houses here. This place might look a little familiar to you because this ghost town was in such good condition, or just the right amount of decay to make it perfect to star in a movie. So this ghost town was where the Hunger Games was, at least part of the Hunger Games was shot here. And this was where Katniss Everdeen lived, the main character. And in fact, some of you may look over there, and this may look familiar to you because there's a scene where right there you would see Peeta come out of the door, and he would see Katniss laying by the tree, and he threw her a loaf of bread. And that's how he became the boy with the bread. But there you go. That is an iconic scene from the Hunger Games. And this was Katniss's house. So we're going to take a quick look inside. Now, again, this is not just a set from the Hunger Games, but this is a place where people really did live, and it became a ghost town. So the inside here, I'm not sure if it's set up to look like Katniss's house. Let me know if you recognize it and you're like, oh yes, that's definitely the chair that Katniss's sister Prim sat in. Let me know if you recognize the decor, or if it's set up to just look like a home from that time period. But either way, it does give you a sense of what it would have been like to live here. You can see the hardwood floors and the kind of modest insides to the house, but there's still a good amount of space for kids to play. And you can imagine, I like to look out this window because it really shows you like a scene, right? Like there's the general store over there, and this is, you might look out this window as a kid, playing in the living room here and waiting for your parent to come home. You're looking at the general store as people go to and from shopping. You can also see that there's a little bedroom in here. I'm not sure where the kitchen would have been. I'm wondering if there were maybe hookups, or if these were built really before having like no, there definitely would have been a kitchen. So I'm not sure where all the kitchen would have been set up in this particular house. You can see the living room over there, and then the bedroom. And then they have stairs here, which we're not allowed to go up. But I do think these houses were all built similarly, because most of the houses, when you look in the window, you can see the staircase cutting across that window there. Let's take a look outside. And again, there is the general store. Really still in great condition. I wish we were allowed to go inside, but let's take a look real quick at a scene from the Hunger Games that I think is pretty recognizable. Oh, and while we're walking, let me just talk to you briefly. So why do ghost towns become ghost towns, right? If this was a place where families lived and thrived, why did it become abandoned, and what happened? And I mean, it's different for every ghost town, right? Some ghost towns were abandoned because there's one down towards the beach. It was abandoned because of the Revolutionary War, and the soldiers were coming, and the people got scared and they left because that town was a target, and many of them went to places like Wilmington. Here's an outhouse, still standing. Other ghost towns, people left because there was a fire that destroyed the mill, or a flood. I mean, flooding, even recently, we've seen how extremely damaging flooding can be in the mountains. Here's a shot you'll probably recognize from the Hunger Games, the District 12 houses in a row. Very, very beautiful. In this case, Henry River Mill Village was abandoned mostly for economic reasons. Eventually, you got to think about it, right? Mill villages were popular because mills were so necessary. They were such an economic driver. But eventually, mills were just not as important anymore. We had other ways of making money, other jobs and opportunities were popping up. And maybe the town next door has better schools or better churches or better jobs. So in this case, the final person left the village in the 1970s. And the person who owned the land tried to keep it up for a while, but it's really hard to maintain dozens of houses, and eventually he did have to let it kind of start to decay a little bit more. That's pretty common with a lot of history, right? Someone keeps it up for a long time and then they get, sick or older and they just can't maintain it anymore. Now, it is owned currently by a family, and people are allowed to come here for tours and walk around. So this is definitely a place where you can come and just buy a ticket, and they'll let you wander the entire 40 acres. You can even go inside one of the houses. And other than that, there is a lot to see. You can see the bakery over there, and you can peek through the windows of many of these homes to really get a sense of what life was like in a mill village. It's kind of captured in time, right? But as you can see, it is still starting to decay, so I'm sure there is some level of concern as to how long this particular snapshot of history will be allowed to remain standing. I'm sure there is a certain level of concern because this is, as far as I know, this is the most well-maintained ghost town really in North Carolina. I have not seen many with this many houses still standing, or you can go inside some of the houses. So let me know. This is towards the end of the stream. I see some of you are just logging on. Let me know if this is something you are interested in. I am traveling to visit a lot of abandoned places like this, working on my book, Hidden History of North Carolina. So please let me know if you would like to see more live streams when I go to explore these places, or if you would prefer short form content like a short video instead. I'm happy to do either, but I don't want to do a big live stream every time if there's not as much interest in it. So let me know. And thank you for joining me today to explore Henry River Mill Village, and I will see you next time with more Hidden History. Bye everyone.